This episode has been brought to you by TroyChristianSchools.org. Check them out online at TroyChristianSchools.org. And now, Healing with Words. Hello and welcome to this episode of Healing with Words. I am Bill Cruz, and this is a very special edition of Healing with Words. Here to my left, for those of you who are watching us on the Marriage and Family Training channel on YouTube, is my twin brother Dave. Different mothers, but the same father by blood. As you can see, before I grew the beard and before he grew the biker mustache, now people just could not tell the difference between us. Our wives, both which are blonde and beautiful, we definitely married outside of our league. They would get, every time we got together, we got kind of confused with somebody, please say something. You know, I'm the one with the Latino accent and you have the Ohio Buckeye accent. Every time I look at you, I want to say O-H.
I-O.
Exactly. All right. And so Dave is here visiting us from Ohio. And I've known him for about 27 years or so. And by the way, we're both Bible geeks. So we had the it was unbelievable opportunity to go up to Washington, D.C. not long ago.
Right.
And to see the Dead Sea Scrolls displays there at the Museum of the Bible.
Correct.
In Washington, D.C. And so I was geeking out all over the place.
It was great.
And so, I mean, I could introduce you to him and give you his resume. Like, again, I've known him for a long time, and we both love moon pies and RCs. But let me go ahead and have you, Dave, introduce yourself and tell the folks where you're coming from and what you've been doing.
I live in Troy, Ohio, which is just north of Dayton, Ohio. I live in Union, Ohio. But I teach at Troy Christian Schools, and I've been there for 26 years. I was previously at Dayton Christian Schools for 20 years. I am from Hamilton, Ohio. I got my undergraduate degree from Taylor University and a master's in history at Wright State University. And I teach senior Bible, and I teach Western Civilization as a CCP class for Troy Christian and for Sinclair Community College. I teach current social issues. I teach a Dave Ramsey personal finance class. And so I've been doing that for a long time. I've got 3 grandchildren. I've got one on the way. Now I've got 3 children. And then I've got my wife of 42 years, Kathy. And so we have been married for a long, long time and are blessed with our 3 kids. One almost 40, one's 34, and then one is almost 30. And then the 3 grandkids. And one on the way, one due here very soon. So we are excited about that.
And hearing him talk, I mean, my bride and I will be celebrating 42 years of being married at the end of this month, and he celebrated in June, so I've been married for a lot longer than you. So all of a sudden, I feel like really old. So welcome to the Old Fogies podcast. Is this on? Can you hear me? Anyway, today's subject, we're going to talk about lumbago and sciatica. What's the difference between the two? And who the heck cares what the difference between the two is? They're just terrible, especially when it's raining, because that's when my lumbago acts up. Absolutely. And so welcome. Now, seriously, we are going to be talking about a very important topic. Usually this podcast lasts about 30 minutes, but this is going to take a little bit longer because it's on the subject of intimacy. And by the way, I'm going to be celebrating 38 years of doing counseling this summer. Yeah, I just feel very old again. All of a sudden there, Daddy-O. And every time I mention the subject of intimacy, and it comes up very often in counseling, in couple counseling, it's just a fascinating subject. And so I am working on a book on intimacy, but for now, I've just started scratching the surface. And so as part of doing the homework for that book, I decided, and maybe a bad idea, but I was going to personally interview 50 guys and 50 gals and ask them a number of questions about intimacy, especially from the biblical point of view and what they think about it. And then I'll be collecting all of that data, and the book will be based on that. And so David is breaking the ice. And no, we're not going to be showing the interviews of every single guy, every single gal, but David is breaking the ice and he's actually going to be answering those questions that I will be using. And at another episode, at the next episode, it will be a young lady who's going to be answering those questions also. And so this is going to take longer than the usual 30 minutes, but I'm telling you, it's going to be worth it. And so let's just go ahead. Do you have any questions? Did you go through hair, makeup, and wardrobe before you came in?
Yes, this is not my normal face. I'm not usually this good looking.
Okay.
So
Well, but that is, we are using
yeah.
a filter,
Mhm.
you know, here. And so he does look a little bit better than usual.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, then let's just jump right ahead.
Okay.
And we're talking the topic of intimacy. And so my first question, and that's something that I've noticed, is whenever people use the word intimacy, it means a lot of things to different people. So how would you, David Gaines, personally define intimacy within a marriage?
Well, you know, God ordained marriage, and when He ordained marriage, He talks about the husband and wife becoming one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And that one flesh means that my wife is part of my being. I'm a part of her being. We are connected together physically, yes. Emotionally, spiritually, yes. And it is the idea that I really can't exist, you know, completely without her, and she without me. And so we are so connected that we sometimes, you know, we'll finish each other's thoughts. I know, being married for 42 years, that can kind of be a natural thing. But the idea of this coming together, of being exclusive with one another, of committing ourselves to one another, because it's like committing myself to myself, and she to me. So the intimacy goes beyond just the physical. There's a whole bunch of aspects that fly into that, that connect with that.
So, you know, and without getting too complicated, I mean, I remember the movie Jerry Maguire. One of the phrases that would mention would be like, "You complete me."
Right.
So is that what happens in marriage?
Yes, for me it is. I would not be the person I am today had it not been for Kathy in my life, and she wouldn't be the woman that she is today if it had not been for me in her life. And God, I believe, preordained us to come together and be together. In fact, I tell the story that the first time I saw my wife, the very first time I saw her, I said, I'm going to marry that woman. I was leaving our school. I was teaching at Dayton Christian Middle School at the time, and I was leaving for Christmas break, and there was a kind of a noise down in the gymnasium. I thought, that's strange, what's going on. They were playing a basketball game for the junior high kids because it was the only time they could schedule it, and it was right at Christmas break. I'm going to Denver the next day to visit my sister, and I walk into the gymnasium, and I look across the gym floor, and there I see Kathy sitting in the bleachers. She was there for her little sister who was playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm going to marry that woman. As soon as I saw her, I knew it.
Wow.
And I walked across the gym floor, had a conversation with her, spoke with her, and said, I'll be back, and I can't wait to get in touch with you. So, you know, that's just the way it's been in our lives. I mean, I just completely fell in love with her as soon as I saw her.
So if we literally take the concept of her, God removing a rib from Adam and forming Eve or whatever. Basically, you looked across and you saw this rib, and then you looked at yourself and saw, I'm missing
a rib, man. There she is.
So that's the rib that is going to complete me.
Yeah, I like ribs. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm all for ribs.
And I'm not sure that is the way it's going to happen with every couple. You know, it took a while for Kathy to say, I love you, but we worked on that. And, you know, but it was for me. As soon as I saw her, I just knew. I absolutely knew.
Yes. Okay, so when it comes to the context of marriage, which aspects of intimacy do you believe are most important?
Well, I think they all are very, very important. You know, the physical intimacy is very important, especially, early on in marriages, when the couples are coming together and getting to know each other, and I believe that God intended marriage to be exclusive. One man, one woman for life, and that there is a exclusivity there. That there's something that is important for that, and that's a big deal. But as you grow older and you begin to learn about each other's strengths and weaknesses, beginning to accept those and beginning to connect with those, that it becomes more than just the physical, but there is a spiritual connection. Being on the same track spiritually is very important. The Bible talks about not being unequally yoked, that we need to make sure that we are married in this context, married to a believer, because she wouldn't understand, and I wouldn't understand. She was a believer, I was not. I wouldn't get that, and you need to be connected with that. So there's a spiritual connection, there's the emotional connection, and my wife and I oftentimes are complementary of one another. We have different reactions to different circumstances, which is good, because if we were the same, we wouldn't be able to bounce ideas off each other and get it counsel and advice. I might respond to issues more calmly in a different way than she might respond, or vice versa. Even financially, we need to be on the same page, within that. So there could be that financial intimacy. I teach part of the Dave Ramsey course at our school for personal finance, and the importance of seeing what your personalities are as far as your finances go, and that's a part of intimacy. And so I think it really encompasses all aspects. Parenting, there's intimacy within parenting. Being on the same page of raising up our children. We got 3 great kids. I love my kids. They're awesome. They're all 3 doing just fantastic in their careers, and we've been blessed with that. But it was hard work. Kathy and I struggling about what to do with this situation, that situation. All that comes together to create an intimacy between the husband and wife that is sometimes unexplainable, because it goes beyond even how you can describe it. It's just that I can't imagine my life without her.
That's great. In our video series, here in the Marriage and Family Training Channel, the Built for a Lifetime series, Chapter 2 mentions John Gottman and his associates from Washington State, and having studied all these, like over 1,400 couples for 10 consecutive years, they came up with all these things. And one of their findings, and it's evidence-based data, is they say there are 2 things that need to be present in the beginning of a relationship that cannot be built upon later. And if those 2 things are not present, then the relationship is not going to be a healthy one. It's not going to go anywhere. And one of them has to do with chemistry, where the couple has chemistry. And the second one is physical attraction. And so according to Gottman et al., E-T-A-L, if there is no chemistry, if there's no physical attraction, that's not something that is developed through time. And so question number 3 is, how important do you believe is physical attraction when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to marriage?
Well, it's very important. When I saw my wife and falling instantly in love with her, I fell in love with her, everything, her mind, her body, everything. And that physical connection is vitally important. And I think especially early on in marriages, that's an important thing to establish that physical covenant relationship that you have. And also that it's that commitment to that. And so it's of vital importance. The Bible talks about husband and wives, coming together and being together. The importance of that. The Scripture talks about the importance of the physical relationship, and that it's not good for a husband and wife to be separate. And if they are, they should be separate for a specific period of time, a short time, and then come back together as soon as they can. Because God recognizes that we need that physical touch, we need that physical intimacy. We talk about the different love languages that people have, and that touch for many people is extremely important. And so I would say that it is a really, really, really important aspect of that. But if your marriage is based solely on that, then obviously time and gravity and weight and diet and all those kind of things are eventually going to have an effect on you, even within the physical relationship. And so you need to move that for that physical relationship, which sets that good foundation, that good basis. But it needs to go into much deeper than that. If my wife was, or I were to be incapacitated and not able to be, with each other physically, would I still love her? Of course I would.
Mm-hmm.
I would still cherish her. I would still honor her. I would still want to protect her. I would still want to take care of her because it's gone beyond that physical relationship. It's kind of like, I think, walking with the Lord. I mean, many people will come to Christ because they don't want to go to hell.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good reason. But if you stay at that reason for your Christian walk, then you aren't growing. And I think it's the same way in a marriage. Coming together physically is really, really great, really good, and it's a lot of fun, and it's awesome. But if it stays there, that becomes very shallow after a while. Very, very shallow, because especially as men, we can have wandering eyes, and we can see things that, well, that looks better, this looks better, that looks better, and it's really not. But Satan will take that and work and run with that. So, you need to grow from the physical and not just stay at the physical.
Absolutely. And I happen to have a weird thought about that. Of course, not strange coming from a therapist's mind. But I think about it in terms of like getting a pair of hush puppies. Remember hush puppies?
Oh, yeah.
The past? It's like, yeah, remember back when we used to wear hush puppies with Jimmy Buffett?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you first get that pair, it looks gorgeous. And it's the leather, it's nice and smooth and everything, and it's super comfortable. But if that becomes your favorite pair of shoes and you wear it for a long time, after a while, it starts getting its folds and cracks, and it starts molding to your own foot to the point that it looks kind of old, and it looks kind of scratched, and it has, again, it's conformed to you, and it becomes almost second nature, almost like a second skin, and it's like super comfortable. Somebody may see it, may look at it, and go like, no, that's an ugly pair of shoes, or why don't you get yourself a new one, or whatever. But you created those wrinkles, those folds. Now, whether they're conforming to your foot, when it comes to the shoes, or whether it comes from bearing children. And so, not to say that our relationship becomes more and more comfortable, although it does happen, once you hit 30 and 40 and 50 years, that wow, I really enjoy this time. But as you're looking at each other in gravity, it's like we grew old together. And I am, if I were to buy a new pair of shoes, and they were very, brand new pair of shoes or whatever, it's going to be uncomfortable for a while. And I'm not so sure I really want to do that. I had a patient ask me how many times had I been married, and I smiled, and I was very happy about the fact I had an answer, and I said, I've been married twice, the first time and the last time. Yes, because I love my wife of 42 years, and I really cannot see myself with anyone else after this. And you know why? Because I know that I would, without a doubt, compare. After you've been with your same spouse for 42 years, and if you were to remarry, at least in my perspective, personally, I could not help but compare, and I think that would not be fair. So I'm a swan when it comes to that, I guess.
I think I am too. Even after 42 years, the touch of my wife's hand on me, on my hand or my shoulder or my face, is like no one else.
Yes.
It has a special intimacy that carries, that makes me feel a whole lot different than if someone else bumps into me or touches me, or even a bump into my wife. I'm like, this I love her so much.
Yes.
And so, a look, you know, um, it's been a joy to wake up with the same person every day for the last 42 years, and I would not want it any other way. And we've talked about, for us, for me, if one should go, who goes first to be with Jesus, I'm not interested in anybody else.
Yeah.
Not to say that's wrong, because the Bible talks about that's fine.
Yeah, and it happens, and it works for some people. No, that's
Uh-huh.
why I said, personally speaking, no, this is it for me.
No, I'm on the same page with that too. So
Yeah.
so
All right. Next question. In your opinion, what behaviors or habits most strengthen intimacy between spouses?
I think probably the idea of vulnerability, being open and honest, uh, and not letting small things become bigger things that then become irritable things that then cause you to, not to be one around that person, not to talk about things with that person. I think the communication is the key. How are you feeling about this? What's your thought on this? And then valuing that person's opinion. I think also a very important aspect too, and my wife and I kind of we dealt with this too, that when you're raising children, sometimes the children become the main focus of your marriage, and that's not a good thing.
Not at all.
Because the kids become the focus, and you get off the focus of your spouse, and then when the kids leave, you say, "Who are you?
Yeah.
We've been married how long?"
Yes.
And because being a parent is the hardest job in the world. I mean, it's difficult. Wonderful, loving, kind. I enjoyed being a dad. I love the word dad. That's one of my favorite words in the English language. When my kids say dad, I love to hear them say dad. And now papa. I cannot let that replace, the relationship I have with my wife. And so it takes a little bit of work. I think one of the habits that is a good habit to have is to say we're going to set aside specific times to be with one another, to talk about something, and if you have a really, really busy schedule, sometimes you're not, do you need to put this on your schedule? Well, if you have to, then you have to, right? That might not be the best thing. Well, okay, I can see you from today, but if you got to work it that way, you got to work it that way. Try to have some time set aside. It's just you and your spouse, and not the kids. And try to make sure that the kids don't become your main focus. Important focus, very important, raising children. But God says that you are to leave and cleave your spouse. I think it's very interesting, for example, with Job, when Satan asked permission to assault Job, and the Lord said, you can attack everything, but you can't attack the person.
Right.
And his kids got attacked, friends got attacked, his wife did not.
Correct.
Because it's one flesh. They are together, they're unified. And so attacking his wife would be like attacking him.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of you who are familiar with the Built for a Lifetime video series, Chapter 4 addresses the boundaries, the healthy boundaries to have when it comes to that. And earlier, I think in season 1 of this podcast, we dealt with the issue of the fact that the parenting and grandparenting roles are temporary roles, but the husband and wife roles are permanent roles. And so what becomes your priority? And so, there's no directing over to other things that we do. Let's move right along. Question number 5, what factors do you believe most commonly weaken or damage intimacy in marriage?
I would say when you're not communicating, when you are shutting down. I think also allowing yourself to, how can I say this? For men in particular, I think men need to be very careful about what's guarding their heart. Watching what they watch, watching what they want to see, where they want to go, because Satan is someone who will get a vision in front of you, they'll plant a seed in front of you, and say, "Well, this one, and she'll never know it. This won't be too bad. Go ahead and do this." guarding your heart. I think guarding your heart in relationships with other people,
Mm-hmm.
other couples, other with families. I mean, I need to make sure that my wife is my priority, and not let other things come and get in the way. Work. I mean, suddenly work becomes I'm always at work, always at work. You may have to break away and just say, I got to set this aside right now. I think so. Allowing things to come in that can hinder that connection with your spouse. Again, it could even be kids.
Mm-hmm.
You need to keep your marriage your priority. And if you don't keep your marriage your priority, well, God first, obviously, my love for Christ first, because I can't love my wife like I should unless I love Christ first. And then He gives me that really agape love for my wife. That may sound kind of strange because we think of eros love in marriage, but the agape love is got to be there as well, because I need to love her unconditionally, without limits, no matter what. And if I let other things to come into that arena that can take my mind off of that or keep my focus off of that, then that could be a dangerous step.
Yes, yes. And if you may clarify, the Greeks use 4 different words for love.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we love pizza, and we love ice cream, and we love our wives, and we love TV or whatever. But when it comes to the Greeks, they use 4 types of words. One is eros, which is the physical intimacy, love, which is where we get the word erotic from, for example. And so that's the eros. And then there's the phileo, which is the brotherly love. And then there's estorge, which is more of a friendly kind of love. And then agape is the highest form of love, which is unconditional. And so whether it's eros, phileo, or estorge, those are feeling kind of how do I feel about this person or whatever. But when it comes to agape, it's more of a decision of the will,
right,
than an emotion itself.
And agape love is something that comes from the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
I mean, it's a love that goes beyond all those other loves will reach a limit at one point, saying, I've gone as far as I can go. But agape love says, no matter what.
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned something about, that made me think about electronics. Nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of couples, especially the men, who say, no, you will not have passwords to my iPad or to my computer or to my phone. And the spouses are asking, well, why not? He said, well, there's such a thing as privacy. And there's a fine line between privacy and secrecy.
Right.
And so I'm a person that, I believe that your spouse should, and there may be some people who disagree with me, and that's fine. We psychologists and counselors disagree with each other all the time. But when it comes to an open, transparent relationship between a man and a wife, no, there should not be any secrecy or privacy when it comes to that, when it comes to passwords or whatever. Because again, if you don't want your spouse to have your passwords, is there something in your phone that you're trying to hide from your spouse? And is secrecy healthy when it comes to marital relationship? And I don't believe it is.
Well, it goes back to the one flesh idea again. I mean, are you keeping a secret from yourself? Are you keeping something private from yourself? And again, when I got married, I recognized that we are coming together, and we are becoming one, a unit. So
yes,
and that's an important concept, And I just think that anything that can get in the way, that can cause you to lose that connection, and be apparent and be open about anything.
Yes,
you should be able to talk to your spouse about anything.
Absolutely,
and with the freedom of knowing that I'm going to be accepted still. Again, that's an agape love, right?
Yeah, a decision of the will.
Right.
No matter what, I will love you.
Right. Right.
Okay, excellent. All right, question number 6. How important is emotional vulnerability for marital intimacy? And by emotional vulnerability, we mean like sharing fears, hopes, and struggles. As I mentioned when my bride taught me about the fact that I kept my heart protected because I did not want to be hurt like I had been hurt in the past.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, no, you have to lower your shields, in order for you to understand really I really need to see where you're coming from. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be hurt. And I remember saying, look, if I lower my shields, you could hurt me. And she said, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, well, why would I want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the idea was, well, because that's the price of intimacy,
Yeah.
which is why I ended up going, well, then intimacy is not for cowards. So
Right.
would you address how important is emotional vulnerability for marital intimacy?
Well, again, it goes back to the idea that anything that comes in the way of your marriage, and that lack of communication, that lack of being vulnerable, that lack of willingness to say, I'm going to be very honest with you because I know you are going to love me no matter what. I'm going to love you no matter what. Then that needs to be a part of that. And that doesn't mean that you have to see eye to eye on everything or approach everything exactly the same way. But it does mean that your ultimate goal is on the same page. This is what we would like to see. And you may approach it this way, I may approach it that way. How can we bring these ideas and bring them together and come together with them? My wife is a very feeling, emotional, empathetic person. She can hardly watch the news at night because it hurts her so bad. I, on the other hand, tend not to be quite so empathetic with things. The teacher in me for 46 years, comes out. Sometimes she'll even say to me, "Now don't talk to me in your teacher voice." Okay.
I can hear her say
because
that too.
teachers will sometimes say, no, and I gotta watch that. And so I need to appreciate the way she approaches things. She needs to appreciate the way I approach things so that we can come together in a kind of a balanced way. She said to me the other day something that has really kind of hit me and made me think about this. When a situation comes up and I'm disappointed in someone, she said, "You get more mad than sad." And I thought that was very interesting because I'll say, "Man, you didn't do this. Why didn't you do this?" And I'm angry at this and saying, "Man, that really hurt." How can we approach this together so we could correct the problem? My problem with the teacher is saying, "Look, get this done."
Mm-hmm.
And she's more empathetic about where the person's coming from. Now, I think you can be too empathetic, okay, and become empowering,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I don't want to be just cold and say everything's just black and white and say this is the way that it is. Especially when raising kids, her viewpoint and my viewpoint sometimes were not exactly the same. We came together. We had the same goal for our children, and because we're on the same page for our children, then our ways of parenting and our ways of dealing with issues balance each other out. But the kids would know. Who should I go to? Ask mom or dad about this one.
Yeah.
They figure that out pretty quick. And so, but I would say that going back to the original question about sharing the fears. I mean, that's an important thing because I got to be vulnerable with her and let her know who I am, and she needs to let me know who she is, where she's coming from.
Yes, one of my old marriage and family therapy professor would say and I've mentioned this in the previous podcast, is that the most awful thing about divorce is the fact that the one who has seen you naked rejects you. And it's one who has seen you naked not only physically but emotionally and psychologically and spiritually. And so a healthy marriage is one where you are able to be naked in front of someone who knows everything, whose idea is to know everything about you and still say, in spite of your brokenness, in spite of your weaknesses, I choose to love you. That's why that agape tends to be more of a mature love. And so, again, when it comes to vulnerability, absolutely, emotionally that's the goal, is for us to
Right.
be, to be emotionally naked when it comes to our fears and our goals and dreams.
Right. Because when you're naked, you're vulnerable.
Exactly.
There's nothing you can hide.
Precisely.
And so yeah, that's a good thought.
Great. Um, okay. Do you think intimacy naturally increases, decreases, or changes over the course of a marriage?
I think you can really look at all three of those things happening sometime during a marriage. When you first get married, it's like I'm talking about physical intimacy. You think about how often you come together physically,
Mm-hmm.
and couples say, "Well, how many times a week?" And you know, um, and that's going to decrease. When kids come along and your schedules come along and you're tired, and you know, uh, so again, it can't just be relying on the physical. It's got to go beyond just the physical, and that's where that change comes in, because my wife and I. This is going to sound really kind of weird, but we like to sit in our front room. We have a couch that has two end seats. There's no television in that front room. We don't want a television in that front
Good
room.
for you.
And we sit there and we will listen to podcasts. We will listen to sermons. We'll listen to music, and I feel connected with her in ways that are far beyond the physical connection
Mm-hmm.
that you might have. It's just an emotional, spiritual connection, knowing she's in the same room with me, that we aren't even like sitting, because it's a couch with ends on the two ends, recliners on the ends, and to be honest with you, that's one of my favorite times of the day. When about 8 o'clock, 8:30, we go in there and we just say let's listen to a sermon, or listen to books on tape.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do that. We'll listen to music, and sometimes I can just fall asleep out there.
Yeah. Especially when you're listening to Healing with Words
Healing with
podcast.
Words.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't put us to sleep, no, but no.
Well, if I may, I think the danger when it comes to that, like I go back to the beginning, to Genesis, and Adam and Eve were completely open with each other, and there was no shame.
Mm-hmm.
And then when sin entered, their lives, when they at the fall, after the fall, then they started hiding themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when a couple first marries, there's a lot of as Gary Berghoff as Radar would say in MASH, a lot of nakedity.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to physical and emotional or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But after the honeymoon, the tendency is that of, well, who told you that you were naked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can I really trust my spouse not to hurt me?
Mm-hmm.
And so we tend to clothe ourselves with shame, with privacy,
Mm-hmm.
with isolation, and then we begin to protect ourselves, and I guess that's very unhealthy. And the more married you are, the more you begin to live separate lives.
Mm-hmm.
And a healthy relationship really should be where you say, no, I purposely, I'm going to remain naked emotionally and psychologically and physically
Mm-hmm.
and spiritually in front of my spouse, because the idea is there's no more powerful relationship than that between a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that goal is what you both, as a couple, should be aiming towards. But I think naturally we tend to aim at hiding those parts of ourselves, and realizing that well, this person really wants to hurt me, and so I'll begin to cover myself, not with fig leaves, but again with isolation and shame and guilt and protective goals, and protective walls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, men are really visually stimulated, and so if they stay on the physical and visual stimulation and they don't go beyond that, then the physical stimulation of outside things is going to affect them. Today, I've been married 42 years. My wife is still, to me, the most beautiful girl in the room. she is the one that I pick up the most. I say, man, I love you, no matter, you know.
Okay. So,
No
and
matter,
again, you're getting her
yeah.
confused with my wife, who's the most
Yeah, there
beautiful
it goes.
woman in the
That's the way
room.
God designed it.
Yes.
You know, God designed that, and Kathy to me is always going to be beautiful.
Yes.
And even though we're in our 60s now, I'm 68, and how she is, but I'm getting Social Security. I'm on Medicare, but man, she is still the person that catches my eye.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because there's more than just the physical attraction, but it enhances the physical attraction, the spiritual, the emotional together.
Yeah, and that's a little factoid to the people who are listening. Yes, men tend to be visually oriented of the five senses. Women, by and large, or generally speaking, and there are exceptions, two of those senses are the ones who really they're attracted to. One is auditory. Are you speaking to her? Are you listening to her? And second is kinesthetically. Are you touching her gently? You know, a lot of women tend to be skin hungry. So are you touching her non-sexually, you know, during the day, and are you addressing those auditory and kinesthetic needs of them? And so that's something that as husbands we're meant to do and fulfill.
Yeah, I often say that one of my love languages is not touch. Touch is not one of my love languages, except for one person.
Mm-hmm.
There's one person in my life where touch is a love language, and that's Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, not really. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not a hugger. I'm not, I'm just not known for that. But one person is in my
Okay.
life, and that's Kathy.
And for the record, for 27 years I've been hugging this man from the front and the back, and this is the first I heard of this. So do you think I'm going to be doing this from now on? No. Do you want to answer?
that's you. I mean,
below?
that's you,
No. It's not happening. I'm going to go, well, I'm not Kathy, and so I'll just high five him.
Okay. My love language is sarcasm.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what it is.
You're so good at that, too.
No.
All right, moving right along. What role does communication play in maintaining intimacy between spouses? And you touched on that a little bit, but what role does it play?
Well, I mean, if you're not communicating, how do I know what's wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can read my wife pretty well, and I could say, what's going on, what's wrong. I mean, I can tell when she gets up in the morning, or not, like when she comes home from work, I could tell. I mean, something's up. I know. Even on the phone, I can say, what's going on, what's up, and I can probably pick up that something is wrong. But unless you actually tell me, I don't have a real good definition of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So please tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you can't deal with a problem unless you know what the problem is.
Yes.
And it's the same with parenting with kids. I can't deal with it. And that's why I would always pray that whatever they did would come to light, that you would get caught.
Yeah.
Please get caught so we can deal with it. Right? And the same thing with marriage. Let me know. Just talk about it. Let me know.
Yeah, and it's funny because I could say about 95% of the couples that I see, when I'm doing the intake session, I say, well, what brings you to counseling? 95% of them say communication.
Communication.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with the ones that say, well, we're not communicating. And I, in a very diplomatic sort of way, I tell them, well, we always communicate. Mm-hmm. Whatever you say or don't say. Mm-hmm. Even if you say nothing, you're communicating. Mm-hmm. Stay away from me. I don't care about what's going on right now. Right. And so you're always communicating. Now, what is it that you're not communicating well or not getting through? Right. And so usually when they say that, well, we have communication problems. So okay, all right. So any particular issues or subjects that you're having trouble communicating? And then that's when they say, well, for example, intimacy, spending time together, or when it comes to coming together in parenting, having the same parenting styles or whatever. And so now we're taking it out of the nebulous communication or not communicating to specifically what is it that you're not communicating, or if there's something wrong with the marriage, they're not communicating that either. And oftentimes that is one of the factors that leads to
Right.
infidelity.
Right, and yeah, you're right. They are communicating, and sometimes it's harshness, you
Yeah.
know, or passive aggressive behaviors between couples, or that little snarkiness, little digs here and there, you know, like how was the dinner tonight, you know, and you make a little comment about, well, you know, could have been better, you know. Are you saying that because you're honestly communicating, or are you saying because you want to hurt the person's feelings?
Yes.
You know, so you got to be careful about that, uh, and be careful about what questions you ask. I guess of your spouse. Does this make me look? How does this outfit make me look? That's a loaded question. There's no good answer to that question.
Oh, en contraire, mon ami.
Okay,
I have the
let's
perfect.
hear what it is.
Yes, you know, because my bride and I were talking about, look, if you really want me to be honest and trustworthy, and truthful, if you were to wear a dress and say like, so how do I look? And I don't like the way that it looks. Do you want me to say, you know, you look really ugly with it, or I don't like it, or whatever? And we have agreed upon, and I'm saying this now because my bride did give me permission to share it, but we have this phrase, and she said, if I'm wearing something that you don't like, I want you to say, if I ask you, hey, how does this dress look? I want you to say, I liked the red dress better.
Okay.
And by saying that phrase, that lets her know in a very diplomatic and non-threatening way, no, that does not look good on you, hon.
Okay.
And so to come up with a phrase like that,
I'll
but yes,
have to try that
honesty, yeah, honest. Well, I suggest you and Kathy come
Okay, I'll
up with
try
your
that
own,
one. Okay.
with your own phrase, or
Okay.
maybe my bride would have no problem with that.
Okay.
But honesty really is the best policy when it comes to being trustworthy, when it comes to to being transparent. Because if she asks you, she really does want to ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, she really wants to know what your opinion is when it comes to
Yeah.
that. And there are diplomatic, nice, appropriate ways of giving that response. And so this is
Okay.
what my bride and I have come up with.
Okay.
So feel free to use it.
Okay.
Now, if you
Catchphrases.
want to use it, then you need to request by writing, by sending it to mfamilytc.com and ask if you could use that phrase. And yes,
Or
I am
catchphrase
kidding.
like mistletoe.
Or catchphrase like mistletoe.
Yeah. For the movie.
No idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, anyway, moving right along. How do life pressures like work, children, finances, or stress tend to affect intimacy in marriage?
Well, I talked about that before. That it can have a big effect if you let it. If you let it, I mean, of course it's going to. And I think that if you are the spouse who is on the victim side of because of the other spouse working or kids, or you need to be a little bit forgiving too and saying, okay, I understand we're going through a tough time right now. You're going through a tough time. You know, what are your expectation levels? I mean, it's a give and take, but of course, I mean, it's going to have a huge effect if you let it. And there again, that might be sometimes where you have to say, we're going to set aside a time that we can go out to dinner together. We're going to set a time for a date. We're going to set a time for communication. We're going to set a time for, and your schedule might require that, as that may sound more too business-like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you don't want your marriage to become a business partnership, and sometimes that can happen.
Yes.
And I think it does happen for a lot of couples. You know, as I said before, in that time period when you're raising kids and you got them in school and you got to get this kid to a game and this kid's got to play and this kid's got this kid's got that, and you got church pressures and I got to be here, there. I mean, sometimes you do have to run like a business and say, stop. What's going on here? And maybe have that check saying, how are you feeling about this right now?
Yeah.
You know, and again, communication is key.
Okay, I'm going to say something, and after I say what I say, I'm going to give you permission to stop being my friend. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I don't believe that married couples should have dates. Did you see his reaction?
I'm thinking what you're saying.
It's like, okay, what does Bill mean by that? Because when you're getting to know each other and you're your boyfriend, girlfriend, yes, you're going out on dates, and you're getting to know the person. Once you are married, I firmly believe, and again, you can disagree with me, and if you disagree with me, we'll just edit it out of the video, uh, and then we'll just kind of AI the voice on
Okay,
you, where you
okay,
say like,
okay.
"Oh, absolutely, Bill, I totally think that's really true." It is my conviction that married couples should not have dates, but they should have devotionals, and I want to explain that. When an individual has a devotional, their daily devotionals, time with God or whatever, basically what they're saying at that special time is, "You mean a lot to me, and I am carving out time out of my day to meet one on one with you, to talk to you, to read your word, the word of God, to pray, to meditate, to think, to
Mhm.
really improve on that and nurture that relationship between you and God." I believe that spouses should not have dates, but should have devotionals where they go out and they say, "Look, you mean a lot to me, more than work, more than the kids, more than anything. And I want to spend this time with you one on one, doing whatever, whether you're walking around or eating dinner or whatever. But I want to let you know that I am still devoted to you. And I'm carving out this time away from all of that to spend time with you, to let you know that you're still the one that I
Well, yeah, I
want."
mean, yeah, that's, I mean, it's just a matter of phrasing, though. I mean, you use the term date. I mean, I'm not talking about like a first date. Like I've asked you out and I'm nervous about you. You say yes or no and let's go to a movie. I'm not talking about, I mean, it's probably, it's a matter of semantics.
Yeah,
So,
but it's a play on words,
yeah. Hmm.
because it's very often, if I think about it as a date, then
Yeah.
it's more about me. Will I be able to impress her or whatever? What is the date going to be like? But if I think of it as devotional, then all I'm focused on is my spouse. It's on you, making sure that I'm not looking, at the TV screens. I'm not looking at anyone else. It's I am focused on you and on you alone. And again, the goal here is to show you, in spite of what our lives is like, I'm still devoted to you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So thank you for not disagreeing with me, even though I know you disagree with me, because it is a matter of semantics. It's a
Yeah.
way of looking
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
All right.
All
One
right.
more question.
Okay.
One more question. Bear with us. Okay, here it is. What advice would you, David Gaines, with all of your massive experience and resume and curriculum vitae, would you give a newly married couple about cultivating lasting intimacy?
Carve out time for one another,
Mm-hmm.
right? Make sure that you are spending time with another, going on a, on a date or devotional, as you know, when you use the phrase. Um, Making sure that uh, every night, maybe you say, "How was your day?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's going on with your day? Where you can have that one-on-one kind of communication and just say, no, not the kids, not the job, put that aside. Also, would say in today's world, put down the social media stuff for some time at night
Yes.
and just connect with one another. Don't just sit there doing this all night long. You know,
Yeah.
look each other in the face.
Yeah, and for those of you who are listening on Spotify, he just put his hand up as
Yeah.
if it's pretend that he's looking at his phone and kind
Yeah.
of scrolling
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah. Let's say, look at each other face to face.
Yes.
You know, don't do the talking while she's in the kitchen doing whatever and you're in the workroom doing whatever, or vice versa. Not to sound sexist, because I do dishes too, uh, and she's there. Actually sit down with one another
Yes.
and say, what's going on? How's your day? And that could be also. I would say, make sure you're on the same page spiritually. Pray together, right? Like I said, my wife and I will listen to the evening prayers together.
Mm-hmm.
We will make sure that we are connected, worshiping together, church together. That's an important aspect together.
Great.
And I think that might be number one, keeping Christ the center, right? and what does He want out of our marriage, and talk about our goals.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well, David Gaines, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
It was
And
a
thank
pleasure.
you for joining us. And really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed and you learned as much about intimacy as well. You learned something new about intimacy that you didn't know before. And so we appreciate you guys coming in. And so this is Healing with Words. And I'm Bill Cruz, and we'll see you next week.
And enjoy your next devotional date.
Yes, absolutely. Take care. See you
All
next
right,
week.
thank you.